Now, I'll admit, is this the right day to be making this video and posting it on the internet? Probably not. And the reason for that is because later today, we will see game number 3 between the Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild in their 2026 Stanley Cup Playoffs second round series. That goes on in about an hour and a half from the time I am speaking into this microphone, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. There's an entire conversation to have about Nathan MacKinnon wearing flip-flops and flippers and goggles in the hotel pool that somebody was weird enough to film and post online. But in this video, I wanted to honestly focus on the Minnesota Wild and not even really make this a quote-unquote Minnesota Wild video. You see, I feel like this video is going to cater to Canucks fans instead of Wild fans, even though we are technically talking about a Minnesota Wild player. Because earlier this morning, you have the great Ian McIntyre, who went out there and posted this article on Sportsnet.ca talking about how Quinn Hughes changed the Wild. Now, he needs to lead them back versus the Avalanche. A quote from Quinn Hughes says, "A lot of people haven't had the experiences I've had. Not everyone's been a captain in a Canadian market at a young age. I feel comfortable with who I am, and I know what I can bring." Oh, boy. Is Quinn Hughes going to start retrospectively reflecting on every experience he has had and start subconsciously gloat about it to the media? Let's see. This piece will be linked in the description. It's a really good article. I'd highly recommend you go out there and read it. Give Ian McIntyre and Sportsnet.ca their ad views. He goes 110%. The Minnesota Wild's Quinn Hughes is taking the game to another level in the playoffs. There are some comments from Brock Faber about how good Quinn Hughes is. Quinn Hughes has been playing some of the best hockey of his life during these playoffs, which sees him on the second round for only the second time after losing Game 7 with the Canucks against McDavid's Oilers 2 years ago. Now, before we read the actual quotes, let's just acknowledge here, yes, Quinn Hughes has been doing very well. He's got 11 points in 8 playoff games, and at one point, if not right now, I believe he led the playoffs in scoring. Okay, he doesn't anymore because thanks Mitch Marner, but Quinn Hughes was number 1 in playoff points a few days ago, and that obviously was a pretty big deal for a defenseman to be at the top of the list. You know, it's kind of funny. It's not like we as Canucks fans are not used to seeing Quinn Hughes at the top of points lists at some point throughout the course of a season. He was in that position in 2023's October, pretty much. But here are the comments from Quinn Hughes that are going over the internet in a pretty fun way. He said, "I mean, you're just a little bit older, a little bit more experienced than seeing it the first time. I don't know, just understanding things a little bit better. Obviously, I had the Olympics in February, so I've played in some big moments, and I just feel comfortable. I don't really look back in the past like, this is what I learned and now I'm going to apply it. I'm just always trying my best. Maybe I approach playoff hockey a little bit more aggressively, attack more and not just think, be defensive and safe. That's probably a little bit of the difference." And has this been his best playoff hockey? Yeah, for sure. Down 2-1 against Dallas, I just felt like we needed to win the series, obviously, and I knew I was going to have to be a big part of that, so I was just trying to elevate my game. Ian McIntyre then writes this: "It's important to remember that Quinn Hughes, like most of Minnesota's players, has never skated past the second round of the playoffs. The Avs won the Cup in 2022, MacKinnon has logged 101 playoff games, Makar 85. Hughes has played in 38, and 17 of those were in the artificial playoff bubble in 2020. Quinn said, "A lot of people haven't had the experiences I've had. I mean, even if guys have played 800 or 900 games, they haven't played in the Olympics, or, honestly, had the pressures of what I've dealt with. Not everyone's been a captain in a Canadian market at a young age. I hit 500 games this year, so I feel like I'm well on my way. But obviously you never stop learning. The game is always teaching you lessons. I feel like I'm comfortable with who I am as a player, and I know what I can bring. So I don't really feel too much pressure in that regard. But obviously, I love the guys here. I love Billy. I love the coaching staff, and I just want to keep playing. I don't want it to stop. And a little bit obviously, they made the trade and you want to make sure it's worthwhile. We're trying to win. That's why Guerin did it. We won the first round. Now, obviously, we're in a dogfight here, so I just want to keep going. Now, that's so interesting, man. Like, Quinn Hughes never once in Vancouver said, "Oh, I love playing for Patrick Allvin. I love Patrick Allvin. Yeah, it's amazing to have this guy as my general manager." No, he's never said anything like that about Allvin. But in Minnesota, he's like, "Yeah, no, I love Bill Guerin. Specifically, I love the team. I love this area. I love the coaching staff. I love the GM." That American connection runs deep, doesn't it? And also, what's with this entire thing like, yeah, a lot of people haven't had the experiences that I've had. I had the Olympics, and I was a Canadian captain, and I did all this stuff, and not a lot of people can say they did that too. I'm kind of sitting here thinking, like, what is the benefit to go out there and have this sort of a conversation with the media? I mean, I don't know if it's Ian McIntyre in particular that reported this and, like, asked Quinn Hughes the questions about it, but still, even if he's just documenting what was said elsewhere, it's so interesting to me how Quinn Hughes would bring that up as a legitimate talking point to justify whatever it is he's trying to justify. I'm not even smart enough to comprehend why he's saying this stuff. And it's so funny because the replies to this tweet on Twitter all have a certain kind of attitude attached to them, and I think you can probably guess where they're coming from. BX's Burner says, yeah, Quinn Hughes ruined the Canucks culture and locker room, used the organization for personal achievements, never once contributed to the community, and he dipped the second he had the chance to. He was a captain here? He didn't act like one. By all accounts, he was a pretty bad captain at a young age in a Canadian market. Not everyone has a unique ability to be worse than Mark Messier. I'll give him that. He learned how to tear a dressing room apart. Everyone I talked to as Canucks fans hated Hughes even when he was here. Good riddance. I don't really care how he thinks. He was selfish and left when things got difficult. As a captain, you couldn't control your own locker room and contribute anything to the community. Other young players come after that have done more than him. This guy's ego is huge. Holy crap. Wearing the C is not the same as being the captain. Then you do have some other folks going out there and replying to what could be. Nuxem0 went out there and said, hey, from reading all these comments, I can't wait till Quinn Hughes returns to the Canucks. We gave him an ego by hyping him up. He's going to expect some grand return, but we are going to boo that guy into oblivion. All night. Quitter and a terrible captain. Another reply said, not everyone can be a captain in the Canadian market. I mean, yeah, you barely were one. This tweet had 1,000 likes. Now, for what it's worth, I do want to acknowledge the contrary. Here's a tweet that I stumbled upon, and I think that this is totally not my area of social media to be exploring, but Quinnesota43, quite obviously a Minnesota fan, said, oh, one thing about Quinn Hughes is you'll never see that he's full of himself. He learns from his mistakes and reminds me that this is everyone's first life. Not everything goes as planned, but every experience helps us grow. We need to accept that not everything is meant to go perfectly. And I'm looking at this tweet like, wait a minute, he's never full of himself? This article that you're quoting and you're screenshotting just like explains all this experience that he has gotten. And he's like, yeah, no, not everybody has played at the Olympics like I have. Guys have 800 or 900 games, but they've never been the Canadian team's captain like I have. I've got all this stuff and I'm still learning. And while that's a great message, it just doesn't feel natural for a guy to be able to explain it in that way. Using all these achievements to force up this narrative that you're always learning and you're always trying to get better, while putting other people down in the process. Oh yeah, other guys have played 800 and 900 games, but I've been to the Olympics. I've done that. Those guys haven't done that. I've done that. Look at the experience that I have. What you talking about? Quinn Hughes is not full of himself. Brother, I don't know. Okay, I shouldn't say brother. Not going to assume this person's gender. I would assume they're not actually a male. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Quinn Hughes and this new interview that just dropped. Minnesota, Colorado's going on in a few hours. Let's hope that the Avalanche... Okay, we're not going to do that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be that petty. Thoughts in the comment section below. Ian McIntyre's article is going to be in the description. I hope you enjoyed this Vidishar 99. And bye.